Hey there, so it's mid-October, Sunday, very overcast day here, right on the border of Virginia, West Virginia, just south of Harper's Ferry. Short trailhead. It's definitely not very secluded. There's a lot of traffic just crossing the road in front of me here, but hoping to do a hammocking overnight here. I haven't never done this trail before. It's been a while since I've even done an overnight, so be interested to try out some gear and kind of just BS about that. No way an expert of any of that, but thought it might be fun to record it and see if I enjoy doing that. So the trail is only about 13 miles or so. It's part of the Appalachian is what most of us in this area say, at least for me. It's part of that, obviously, long trail system, but the thru hikers are long since out of here this time of year. It's mid-October. So the trail goes right up into Harper's Ferry. A lot of history there, so that's pretty interesting. I know there's some overlooks around here. I'm not sure if this particular trail goes through any of those, but regardless, gonna just do a few miles and see how I'm feeling. If I could always come back to the car, it's not that far, but I'd like to set up camp tonight and try out some gear I've never used that I've bought over several years. Yeah.
So just kind of started out here, maybe about a half mile into the trail. Asked a couple people already, maybe half dozen. So it seems like it's still a pretty well-used trail this time of year. One thing I did fail to mention though is my pack. I can talk about the pack itself later, but part of the reason I'm not doing very many miles is it's pretty heavy weight. Its base weight's well into the 20s, I think, maybe 22. And so pretty heavy. Definitely not any kind of ultralighting, but that's why we're testing out gear and not trying to do a bunch of miles. Another thing I was thinking is that because of the late time of the season, you know, as I said, it's coming up on November here pretty soon. The sun is going down obviously pretty early now, so I'd like to get base camp up maybe 2 hours before dusk, which is about 6:30. Pretty rocky, but straight, not a lot of elevation change really. It also runs north-south pretty much exclusively, so there's really no way to get sidetracked too much from this trail. Sort of wishing I'd brought my trekking pole, so this is not real bad, but you know, certainly can turn an ankle. Just got to be real careful, obviously, and pretty slow through those areas. Of course, now that I say that, it opens right up here, but it's about as open as it's been too. Generally pretty thick bush up until this point, but of course now the rocks are petering out for the moment. But yeah, certainly the more research you can do about a trail, the better in terms of what to prepare for. Even basic distance, direction, relative location, that sort of thing. All very helpful. I also have to forgive the kind of rudimentary state of the camera work. It's pretty much all my phone. I shouldn't say pretty much, it is. I don't have a dedicated camera right now. If I decide I like doing this, maybe I will. But I do have a little like $20 tripod I'm going to try out. I haven't pulled it out yet, but probably once I get to camp, I'll pull it out and show you guys, or maybe put it in the description, the link to that. It's right off Amazon. Seems like it's going to be good, but we'll see. Just taking a quick break. There's a group of people, maybe 2 or 3 of them, not too far ahead of me. I'm not really in a hurry, so I'm just gonna get the pack off for a minute. As I said, it's a pretty heavy pack, especially with all the water. Got a 3-liter bladder and another bladder in there for cooking for later. So just kind of taking it easy for a few minutes and let them get a little farther up the trails. Kind of just one of those things when you got a heavier traveled trail. You kind of got to mitigate that if you're trying to be out in the wilderness. One other totally unrelated thing, if I sound funny, it's because I'm wearing a plastic liner for my clear braces. Just started another tray today. I'm on my third one now, about 3 weeks into it, but it's cool so far. It's kind of weird the first day, getting used to it, but so if I sound a little lispy, that's why. Totally unrelated, but in case you were wondering. Opened up here for a power lines. Not much of that you can really see, but looks just like the one near my dad's house. You run right over these hills. Not sure if you can hear that, but it's either the power or all these bugs. Kind of like this tree, sort of a natural bridge. It's cool. At this point, about 2 miles in, per the GPS app I'm using, all trails, which is pretty good so far. There's a smartwatch app for it too, but I haven't really used that. But the phone app, you can download the maps ahead of time and show your planned elevations and everything. It's nice, especially rather than buying a specialized GPS that's, another, whatever they are, $200, $300, $400, maybe less now, I don't know. Less people are using them, but for an established trail like this, where you don't really need waypoints and stuff, seems totally adequate. They're one of the designated campsites here on the Appalachian Trail. Wonder how often this gets used in the prime season. Still going up. So on this trail there is a split. It goes north directly to Harper's Ferry, and the left split, which I think actually is the Appalachian Trail, goes directly right through Harper's Ferry. Kind of right at the point where the Shenandoah and the Potomac meet. There's a right-hand fork that goes a little bit higher up the hillside toward that overlook that I was talking about before. So I might see about that. It's not really any longer of a distance. The question remains if I'm going to have the energy to do it anyway with all this weight, but we'll have to wait and see. But if I get to that intersection point, probably makes sense to check out the overlook. I mean, I've been to Harper's Ferry, as cool as it is. It'd be way cooler to see that overlook. So might try for that. We'll see. Of course, the reward for pushing yourself is some delicious dehydrated backpacking food. Yeah, it's good stuff. Sort of an old stone wall over there. Not sure what that would be for. Not sure if anyone had property up here, or who knows. Could even be the state border. We are right on it. Virginia, West Virginia. Not sure. Well, we got a slightly flatter section. Thought I'd kind of start into the gear stuff a little bit. My pack, as I mentioned, it's got basically the stuff for the one overnight, but it's kind of a bit excessive for that. I've got a chair in there and things like that. But it's the Osprey Talon 44. I've got quite a few Osprey packs. I really love their gear. Their guarantee is fantastic. 44 liter is around double what my everyday kind of commuter pack weight is in terms of internal volume. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty comfortable. It's got the kind of air speed back part on it for your back doesn't get too sweaty. My back's pretty sweaty already, but it's not too bad. The waist belt isn't as quite as thick as some of their heavier packs, like their multi-day bags. I've got a Ether 70. It's supposed to be, for multiple nights. I took it to Europe years back. That's got a much more padded, it's ergonomically shaped. You have to put it in this heater thing, and it sort of, binds to your waist, to your hips. So that's a little bit more comfortable. This is on my shoulders a little bit more than I like. Might be the way I packed it. I don't know. But it's still pretty comfortable considering all the weight, as I mentioned. It's not really meant to be packed to the gills this way. No, I love Osprey bags. I've got my bug out bag is another one of those. It's another Talon. It's a smaller one. I think it's like a 20 or something. I've also got a Manta, which is sort of like a quick day through hike sort of bag. A couple others as well. Great products. Company's really nice. I've had really good experience with their customer service in the past. So yeah, it's a good bag. We'll see it a little bit more as we go here, but yeah, it's one of my favorite sort of shorter hike bags where you're doing an overnight or something like that, because you know, too much smaller than this, I mean, ultralighters I'm sure will be fine with that, but if you're bringing, you know, this is, you know, later fall, so we got to have I got a hammock camp set up, so I got to have my underquilt and things like that, so, which I'm also testing for the first time. Not that this bag is, I've had this for years, but yeah, so there's a lot more weight for the seasonal stuff. I think it's supposed to get down into the low 40s this evening, so we'll have to see. Definitely different looking foliage from the rest of this trail so far. Turned into a sort of a mini jungle look here. The elevation's changed quite a bit too. Actually started going down a little bit. We're kind of going along a ridge a bit here. I just realized I forgot instant coffee. Also, I mean, drinking all this water all this time, you know, it'd be nice to have like, I don't know, some Tang or something to, you know, so reward when you get to camp or in the morning, you know, something that isn't water to perk you up. Oh well. This is one of the splits I was talking about before. So at the left goes down into Harper's Ferry, and the right goes up that ridge, Key Gap. That's the trail we came in on. So we're gonna take this right forth and head up toward that overlook. The original cut I was planning on making, I wasn't able to make because the GPS trail got messed up at some point on the map that I have. Kind of cut off the corner a little bit, and of course, you know, I was on the blazes, clear blazes the entire time. I mean, you can't really miss this trail, but you know, and of course that was where the original split was supposed to come, but it kind of does a U-shape, so this is the other end of that. So I'm gonna take this one and hopefully it's just fine, but a little annoying. I mean, it's a pretty significant cutoff. Maybe I'll put in a screenshot of that, but yep, I think this is the Loudoun trail. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I'm gonna try this and head up on toward that overlook of Harper's Ferry and the river junction there. One more thing about this bag, as I mentioned, I've got the 3-liter water bladder in there that I've been using. Got it right here, chest strap. And it's great, you know. I mean, everyone's used these. These are super common now. Bought my dad one for his motorcycle last year, but yeah. So the thing about it is I've been drinking when I'm thirsty, and I don't really know how much is left in the thing. You know, I could take it out and weigh it, or not weigh it, but like kind of with my hand, you know, but feel it. But when it's in the pack, you know, I could be 1/8 of the way into it, or I could be 2/3 of the way into it. I don't really know, and it's kind of stupid, but it'd be funny if there was a gauge of some kind that you could use. Fluid gauge, that'd be nice. Someday. kind of see through these trees here, one of the bridges that goes over the river before you get to Harper's Ferry. There's no way people haven't climbed up that and fallen right on the trail like this. Guaranteed. So obviously I decided to push on to the vista here. It's a little over 6 miles, I think. Don't really recall exactly how high up elevation-wise, maybe 1,000-foot elevation gain, but I had pretty heavy pack, something like 1,000 calories. It's pretty legit, but it's getting close to 5 now, so I gotta start setting up camp here before it gets too late. So Harper's Ferry down here is where the tracks head toward DC and the MARC train and the Amtrak come in. I think I found a spot here between these two trees behind the Overlook. Kind of not supposed to camp in this particular park, I think, for Harper's Ferry, but the AT is a ways back and I'm pretty bushed. And by the look of the scratching on these trees, I'm the first person to stay up here, so I'm gonna make camp here and hope for the best, but it should be fine. The train tracks are right down there. I don't know if you can hear that, but I grew up right next to train tracks, so shouldn't be an issue for me personally. So I'm gonna get cracking here. So you may see I got my camp set up. I'm doing a hammock system, which I'm pretty sure I already talked about. I had a little bit of trouble with the ridge line. I can never really get those initially right where I want them to be. I'm probably gonna have to hike that thing up a little bit higher. You think, former sailor, you think you'll be able to get the fucking nuts right, but you know, I'll get it. But the rest went up pretty easy. Kind of made an executive decision on the tarp. Not supposed to rain tonight. Really hoping it doesn't. I have it, but I don't want to break it out unless I have to, because it's kind of a pain to get it back in the sack. And you know, it's kind of got a homey feeling sort of having that. So sleeping out in the woods, kind of nice to have that, but I really wasn't going to take the chance on the bugs, so I brought the bug net out anyway. So that's what I needed the ridge line up more than anything for. And it still supplies some degree that, you know, comfort having something over top of you. If it does start to come on to rain, I could break the thing out. It wouldn't take me that long to get it up, but I'd rather not if I can avoid it. But I can talk a little bit about the rest of the system too. So real brief, the basic system is an E&O system. I'm not a huge fanboy of theirs, but I do like the company. But when I first got into hammocking, I never really used them before. So, and I've never had issues with their products. This is a little bit on the expensive side for some of this stuff, especially the underquilt, which I'll get to that. So the bug net is their Guardian, I think the larger size, maybe not, maybe just a regular Guardian. And it's nice. It kind of cinches up here at the top, so it kind of keeps the bugs from getting in up there. I love the Atlas system with these loops. Super easy to get up. You kind of just throw it around there and kind of slip knot it through and carabiner in. It's not the most fine tuning, but it's certainly quick. And I believe these straps are rated up to something like 400 pounds, maybe 350 pounds. Yeah, 200 pounds of strap, 400 pounds total. The hammock is the double nest model, which is rated at the same. Great hammock. I've used it a bunch. Inside, I've got a sleeping bag. It's a regular, I think, 30 degree bag. It's blue. I've had it for a long time. I actually couldn't find it for the longest time. It's pretty annoying. It's an Alps Mountaineering bag. I really like it. I've had it for years. It's great. But I actually love that company, Alps Mountaineering. They make some really great stuff. I've also got a sleep mat and a few other things. So there's everything they made. A tent also. I have a backpacking tent, which is great. I think it's the Zephyr 2. Great system. Very light. It would have been my alternative to the hammock if I wasn't doing this. The underquilt is one Tigress. I'm trying this out. I just got this in yesterday. I've never used an underquilt before. So real interested in trying that out. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to come out today and get a handle on that. This chair, which you may not see me sitting in, is a Hammocking. I think it's the Chair 1. They make a ultralight one also, I think called the Chair 0, which is a great chair also. I've tried it once but never owned it, but this is a great little chair. This is probably the more like sort of not needed sort of item that added a little bit of weight. It's not super heavy. It's maybe the size of 2 Nalgene bottles stacked on top of each other when it's all, done up. So it's not too bulky either, but it's bulky enough and heavy enough where it's definitely a luxury item for backpacking. Yeah, I didn't bring a table, but I definitely wasn't going to be without a chair. I have a stool I could have used, which I think is also an Alps Mountaineering. It's a great little stool. It's not particularly comfortable, and after this hike, I definitely need a little bit of comfort, so definitely glad I brought that chair. So for my cook system, I'm using the Jetboil. I believe it's the Mini Mo. The difference between this one and the other Jetboil I have, which I think is the Flash, this one has a proper regulator on it where you can actually, it's not either zero or full blast. This one you can actually cook things and simmer things on it, which, if you're doing anything other than backpacking food, that's great. And for tonight, we're doing a Mountain House, a beef stroganoff. So looking forward to that. These are always really good. One of the things I noticed about these backpacking meals, though, is they almost always overestimate how much water you're supposed to use. So if they say, 2 cups or whatever, I always go a little bit less than that, maybe 1.5 cups. Just point of reference. That's just my experience. And I'll let this simmer away. Get a nice rolling boil for our meal here tonight. So I'm just sitting here waiting on my food to finish cooking. Got about 5 minutes left on the time to sit. Let's pull out my lantern that I use. It's a nice lantern. It's a little black diamond. I've used it before. It's got like a flashlight on the bottom and the regular lantern up top, but the contacts weren't working. The lantern I left the batteries in it the last time I used it. It's not rechargeable, and the contacts had corroded, so I was sitting here with my knife scraping off the contacts to clean it up enough for it to work. I have a headlamp anyway, so if it didn't work, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but definitely don't leave batteries and electronic devices over a long period of time. But the food should be done here pretty soon, be ready to go. Got camp pretty much the way I want it. Still want to kind of fix the line here, the bug net, but we'll see. It might not be too bad. One thing I'll say about this particular Jetboil stave, though, is it's not the easiest thing to put away. It's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle with getting everything in, getting the lid closed the right way. More than one time, I've had to sit there and, figure it out on the fly, and it's taken me 10 minutes, but it does eventually get in there, and it's a great little system once it's up and running. Then, of course, as soon as I say that, I get it, like, almost instantly. Basically, the gas and the bag that's got the burner in it fit in there sideways of the base of the isobutane to the top part of the burner, and it goes in there sideways, and it's perfectly fine. I sometimes put like little bags of a cup of soup and stuff in here, hot chocolate or something like that. Wish I had some instant coffee in there right now because I've got none for tomorrow, but all done with this, and dinner's done. Not sure if you're eating in the train down there, but as I said, I'm pretty used to that, so that's no worries. But I've got camp all set up. It's starting to slowly get a little darker here, but I'm gonna get this chair put up, and which I'm very glad I had. It was nice to sit here and not have to be in the hammock and eat. But I'm gonna make my way in there now and maybe read for a while till I get tired, which hopefully won't be too long, because I want to get up pretty early to start making my way back. Just laying in the hammock here now. You can kind of see the bug net here. It's sort of call it no-seum, but it's pretty transparent. You can't really tell too much. You don't really feel too confined by it. You can kind of see the sun setting a bit over there over the Shenandoah River, which Y is right here, kind of inside frame. The Potomac goes to the left here, Shenandoah goes up this way, and this way goes toward DC. So just in here for the night now. It'll be probably pretty dark here in the next half hour or so. It's a little after 6:15 maybe. Don't know how I'm gonna get tired this early, but you know, it's one of the good things about the wilderness, or just being outside. Even when you sleep outside, it helps regulate your sleep habits, they say. I find that to be true in my experience. Sorry to bring you with me for the breakdown of camp, but as you can see, it's pretty dark still, so there really wasn't much to see anyway. I'm back at this big stacked rock here. It's about 6 a.m. and making my way back. Still about another hour for sun up, but I wanted to get a move on. It took a little while to break down camp, maybe 20 minutes or so. The hardest part probably being the sleeping bag, getting all that loft shoved back in there, but got it done, and just back on the trail now. Just coming back down off the still on the Loudoun Heights Trail. I think that's how it's pronounced. Unless it's Loudoun, I'm not sure. But that's the split route that we were on last night. This is sort of the main elevation area. I'm not sure if you can tell on how dark this is, but this is all downgrade here. The whole first half a mile or so was almost all upgraded. Now this is down. So this is one of the bigger elevation changes in this entire trail. Was this last, mile and a half yesterday afternoon, and now this morning. I'm sure you can see the moon there. It was pretty much full last night. Absolutely beautiful. And the kind of fog hanging over the valley by Harper's Ferry, and the sun beginning to come up over there very slowly. Psst. Seen a whole bunch of deer on this trail. Their eyes just peering at you in the dark. A little bit spooky. Yeah, I was just thinking, as far as all these deer, seen just another one just a minute ago. The good news is, not that there's really many predators in this area anyway. Maybe like a cougar or something, I don't know. But, if they were there, the deer wouldn't be, not within 100 feet of the trail like I've just been seeing them. And it's been that way this whole morning so far. So that's kind of a relief. Not that I was really worried about predators anyway, but, there's no way those deer would be there if there was anything that could hurt them. Not sure if you guys can even see that. There's 3 of them right there, maybe 50 feet away. So I just hit about 2 miles into the trek back, which is about 6.5. And I just ran out of water, which is unfortunate. I've got this 3-liter water bladder I was using, and I had another bottle for cooking, but that's long gone now. But that's kind of where I was coming in yesterday with the gauge bullshit. But seriousness, you definitely want to make sure you have enough water for when you're going out. The only thing I'll say is I didn't really plan on doing this many miles in general. I was only going to do, maybe 6, 7 total, not, whatever, 12, 13 and a half that this whole trail is. So, something to be said for that, but also that in that respect, it's generally not great to go off the trail where you're planning to go, where you told people you're going to go. But I was lucky enough to have cell service most of this trail, being so close to Harper's Ferry and whatnot. So I was able to let people know where I was anyway. So it's gonna, be a pain not having water for the last 4 miles of this trek, but pack's a little bit lighter, and there's a gas station not far from the trailhead, so I'll stop and get something. Gonna need probably an energy drink after this hike anyway. I'm not sure if you can see, but the sun is starting to come up a bit here now. Not sure if you can see that, but yeah, actually just passed another camped out hiker, the only other one I've seen here on the AT, kind of right back at the split where that trail wide that we passed yesterday. They were kind of right on the trail, which I didn't think you were supposed to do, but I don't know. I certainly didn't do that, but I wasn't on the AT. I was kind of trying to stay out of sight, but yeah, no one else on the trail obviously yet though, because it's still, at least another half hour till sunrise, really, probably. We're moving. The worst of the elevation change is behind us now, about 750 feet. We only did probably 1,100 all day yesterday, and the first 2 hours we already hit that. So moving along. Hopefully it'll be relatively easy walking on the AT from here to the car. So kind of reflecting on the night, I crawled into bed after, I'm not sure what it was, probably, 7 o'clock or something like that. I didn't sleep especially great, but it wasn't really a fault of the gear at all. The gear performed really well. The entire system I had was really only rated down to, I think, about 40 degrees on the low end, and it, touched, a little bit colder than forecast. It was forecast down to maybe 43, 44 degrees, something like that, which was fine. But it ended up getting down to, whatever, 36, 37, something like that, probably more in line. So certainly tested that. And I was never really cold from that. The underquilt kept, my bottom end feeling, fine. It got a little bit cold as it really got into the 30s toward the morning, but never to the point where I was uncomfortable. The sleeping bag was totally fine. I do, in hindsight, wish I had brought a pillow. I was going to bring one, and it was the last thing I took out before I came down. I just physically couldn't fit it in the bag. It's not very heavy. It's kind of folds up pretty small, but an inflatable one would have been a good choice. Maybe I'll look into that, because it was definitely tough to get comfortable that way. But otherwise, yeah, I was pretty comfortable. I was definitely never cold. The hammock was very well. The bugs didn't really bother me, especially being that cold. There was, lots of noises at night, naturally, being in the woods. Lots of like butternuts and acorns and stuff falling down at night, and that kind of woke me up more than anything. I wasn't really spooked, really, but that stuff kind of, did wake me up on occasion when I did get to sleep. All in all, I think I got probably about 4 hours of sleep, which isn't that much worse than I get at home anyway. So not too bad there. So all in all, the gear performed really well. That one Tigris underquilt definitely performed well. It compacted right back up. It was definitely a lot easier to get put back away than the sleeping bag, which once it lofts up, it's really a pain to get back in the stuff sack. But eventually got it, and should be able to see the sun is really coming up here now behind me. It looks a lot darker on camera than it does here. It's actually pretty lit. I don't even really have my light on the trail anymore. This is more so you can see me. So yeah, all in all, it was pretty good gear-wise. One piece of gear I didn't really talk about is this headlamp. This is a BioLite one. I can't remember the color. It's Ember something or other. Came out about a year ago on a Kickstarter. It's a good company. I like some of their stuff. I have a stove that's pretty cool. You should check that out. They have a heat converter in there, so the heat energy from the fire charges the battery and the blower, so it burns clean. You can even like charge your phone off it and stuff. So it's a great little item. The only reason I bring it out here is because I didn't really feel like looking for wood, and the pellets that you can burn in it, like, it's added weight. So if I was camping, I probably would have brought that because you can use it as a campfire too. And there's also a grill implement, which is cool. Anyway, so the headlamp, what's interesting about this is it's super thin up front. I don't know if you can see that. It's super kind of thin, so there's not a lot of bulky weight kind of flopping around. There's a piece in the back where the battery actually is. You can charge it there too. So it distributes the weight a little bit more evenly, so it doesn't bounce around as much. I have a couple of black diamond ones that are rechargeable that are really nice too, but I hadn't used this one before, so I thought it would be nice to try out for it, and it's been great. Lightweight and comfortable. It's like a kind of a neoprene sort of fabric. Very bright. I like it so far. One other thing about that underquilt is I kind of mentioned price yesterday. Underquilts are really expensive for the most part. The E&O ones, the cheapest one is about $100. The next one up is about $200, and their whatever flagship model is about $300. Seems like it's really nice. I think it's duck or goose down, which I'm sure is fine and great for cold weather, but $300 is a lot of money to spend on an underquilt. So I kind of looked around for a while. I was in the market for one for felt like years. I finally bought this one Tigress one, which was only about, I don't know, $60 or something. So, and had great reviews, and the build quality was fine, and you heard my experience about it earlier. Pretty well, and certainly not enough of a gap to warrant spending even $200 on one when you can get a very competitive, fall, 3-season underquilt for whatever, a third of the price or less. So something to keep in mind if you're in the market for one. This is definitely a trail for trekking poles. Not through some of it, but there's definitely a lot of areas where there's lots of jagged, large rocks like this, where it would definitely be helpful to have them. So if you have them, it'd be good to bring them if you want to do a trail like this. The mist down in the valley down there. Beautiful. Down to about the last mile and a half here, so kind of wanted to think about sort of takeaways from this overnight. One of which I mentioned many times is for this particular trail trekking poles. It's a really rocky trail even still. This whole swath of the AT is like that, at least on this trail. The latter part of it on the Loudoun trail really wasn't too rocky, but it was a lot of elevation change. Not so much here, but so this is more rocky and that one's more up and down for the most part. Another thing, when it comes to hammock camping, I probably didn't spend enough time getting the angles just right for the way the hammock actually laid, because if you're, hanging a certain way, you're kind of more of a U shape. You're supposed to kind of, when you're sleeping, you're supposed to kind of be at sort of a sideways angle in there anyway, kind of so get as straight as possible so you're not, in that U shape. But the distance between the trees and how it's hung has a lot to do with that. So to some degree, that's one of the downsides of the Atlas straps. As convenient as they are, the fine tuning isn't quite there for achieving that for sleeping. I mean, you can do it, but it's a little bit more of a situational thing. Another is mentioned a few times is just sticking to the trail that you're said you're going to be on. If you're telling people where you're going to be, that's where you want to be. So if something were to happen, I went off. I was lucky enough to have, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have cell phone signal, so I could tell somebody. I mean, I didn't go that far off the trail anyway when I camped, but far enough for something happened to me. I might have been within shouting distance, but you got to be careful of those things. And in this particular situation, I ended up being less to water than I needed because of that. So not to like a tour, but like I'm fine. I've only got a mile and a half to go, and I'm not dying. I'm super parched here. But that is a factor. And if the worst that happened, sucks to be without water. If this was the Southwest or something, it'd obviously be way bigger of an issue. Less so here. I mean, there's streams and stuff if I absolutely had to. So there's that. It'd be good to have a paper map also, or at least screenshots of it on your phone or something. And I've been kind of using my phone for a lot of this. I mean, I stuck to the trail a lot, but using the camera here and using the GPS. So I went through a significant amount of batteries for that. And I had a battery pack. I brought the Anchor. I think it's 2200 milliamps, so plenty. I could charge my phone probably 4 or 5 times with that thing, something like that. But if something got wrong with that and you're relying on the tech, then you can have a problem. There's butternuts and stuff falling off the trees here. Which brings to another thing. Earplugs would have been nice last night. As I mentioned, the train didn't really bother me, but all the other noises kind of did. There was one point during the night where there was this weird sort of wooting, sort of snoring thing, like, and it kept kind of getting closer for a while, so that was weird. So earplugs definitely would have been nice. Even just for these nuts and stuff falling off the trees can be kind of a pain when you're trying to sleep. Sound of nature is great until it's keeping you awake. So earplugs would definitely be good. I think that's mostly about it. Otherwise, just doing research ahead of time on the trail. Make sure you got the right boots, fresh socks. I got a fresh shirt for when I get back to the car too, because you get sweaty. And so just being prepared as much as you can be. It's sort of a trade-off between the weight and having what you need, and you need stuff for the bathroom and all that other stuff too. So in this case, I brought like my mug, and I didn't end up using because I didn't have any coffee. So that was weight that could have been used towards something else. So just preparation. Certainly, I mean, for your day hike, it's not a big deal really, but overnight, you definitely have to think a lot more about it, especially if you're solo. Such as my takeaway here. But only a little over a mile left, so almost back. So I'm within the side of the parking lot. We have finished this hike. It's straight under 6 miles. It's about 1,035 elevation gained. Here under 1,000 calories in roughly 3 hours. So pretty similar to yesterday. I think yesterday we did a little bit more sidetracking, but together this little one-day overnight is done. So if you've been watching this whole time, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.